All right, so in the Google Classroom, I haven't posted this yet, but by the time you see this, it should be posted. Um, we are going to be having a test on Tuesday, and that means you need to know how we're doing the test. We're going to be using a website called GoFormative, which is goformative.com, and I'm putting on there a geometry review unit 1 for all of our classes. So what I'm going to do right now is go through the review and show you how to use GoFormative, and give you all the answers and show you how they're done as a review. This is going to help you review for the test, to help you study, and help you use GoFormative, because we are going to use GoFormative on Tuesday for the test, Wednesday if you're on Monday, Wednesday, Friday class. But nonetheless, so follow along carefully, because it's important that you know how to use GoFormative and then the content for the test. All right. So when you go to goformative.com, make sure you sign in with your NEISD credentials through Google. And then when you open it, you're not going to see the AR one necessarily, but you will see Geometry Review Unit 1. You can hit open, and then you're ready to go. All right. So now, this normally I would give you this on paper in class, but instead, here it is. So on this first page, it's a bunch of matching. All right. So, the first 5 terms are A, B, C, D, E. The pictures, 6 through 10, are either F, G, H, J, H, I, or J, sorry. And then the notation is 11 through 15. It's either K, L, M, N, or O. Okay. So all we're going to do is match these up. So number 1, the term, it named a location as no size. What has no size is a point. Number 1 is going to be E. Okay. And I know this seems like a lot, 35 questions, but remember, 15 of them are just these matching. Okay. Number 2, it has no thickness and extends forever. Both directions, you would call that a line, right? So not a line segment, but a line. Number 2. All right, number 3, part of a line that extends at one endpoint and extends forever in one direction. This is super important. One direction is ray. Okay, so number 3 is B. Number 4, part of a line that consists of 2 endpoints and all points between them. So again, 2 endpoints, that's a line segment. Okay, that would be letter D. All right, and number 5, a figure formed by 2 rays with a common endpoint. That is a angle. Kind of process of elimination, but you got to know that 2 rays that connect at the same endpoint is a angle. Now 6 through 10, we're going to take those 5 things and we're going to match the picture. So number 1 we said was a point. So number 6, which one of these on the second row is a point? That would be letter I. Number 7, we said this was a line. Okay, so on number 7, which one of these matches a line with 2 arrowheads? That would be letter H. Number 8, and we said this one was a ray in one direction, so it has 1 arrowhead. That would have to be letter F. Okay, number 9, part of a line that we said was a segment, so that's letter G. And then on number 10, we said that was an angle, so that's going to be letter J. Okay, so once you know the term, you can match it to the picture. Oops. All right, now 11 through 15, let's talk about notation. So again, number 1 is a point. Which one of these 5, K, L, M, N, O, is just a point? Well, just a letter represents a point. So that's going to be letter M. And we said a line. So a line has 2 arrowheads in its picture, so also in its notation. So it would be letter L. Okay, 13. One direction ray has 1 arrowhead, so in the notation it also has 1 arrowhead. Okay. Okay, part of a line that consists, so we said a segment. Segment has no arrowheads, and so in the notation, segment has no arrowheads, right? And then, of course, an angle looks like it has an angle symbol and out front. Okay, so we just knocked out the first 15 by matching these 15 to the term bank. Okay, so on GoFormative, if on your test you see something like this, it should be obvious what you're matching up, and it should match in your answer choices. Okay. Now, see how I can't scroll down here, but if I go outside and scroll down, I go to the next page. Okay. Now, 16 through 21, typically this was you write out the definitions, but it's multiple choice, right? So parallel. What does parallel mean? So these are all my choices. But we should know that parallel is when two lines on the same plane do not intersect. Okay, perpendicular, well, perpendicular is not just that they intersect, but they intersect at 90 degrees. So I'm looking at my answer choices. When two lines intersect at exactly 90 degrees, that'll be number 17, sorry. Click it. All right, cool. All right, 18, angled bisector. When you think of bisecting, you think of cutting in half. So an angled bisector cuts an angle in half. Look at this one right here. This one says cuts a segment in half. That's a distractor. Down here, cuts an angle in half. A line, segment, array that cuts an angle in half is an angled bisector, number 18. 19, well, a segment bisector, yeah, cutting a segment in half, that would have to be this one right here. All right. Collinear. Co means share, linear means line, sharing a line. Which answer says points sharing a line? It's not the second one because that says plane. It's going to be the second to last one here. When two or more points lie on the same line. Okay, and then coplanar. Co means share, planar means plane, sharing a plane. So on 21, when two or more points share at the same plane, that would be the second one right here. All right. So we just got all that matching out of the way. Now, let's talk about 22. I need to zoom in a little bit. Okay. So on 22, classify BED. So I'm looking B to E to D. So right there, the BED, that angle looks right. And you can see it's vertical angles with 90 degrees. So yes, BED has to be a right angle, 90-degree angle, right? Okay, ADE. So look at A to D to E. Now this angle looks greater than 90. Obtuse is what you call that. So 23, obtuse. 24, IEG. From I to E to G. Now this angle looks smaller than 90, smaller than a right angle. So it's a cute little angle. Acute. So the way to remember that is obtuse sounds like obese. You know, big, bigger than 90. Acute, cute means small and tiny and adorable. So acute will be less than 90. And right is right in the middle at 90 degrees. It's kind of like when you take a right turn, it makes exactly 90 degrees. All right. Number 25 and 26. Now, 25, name the angle that is supplementary to HGI. Now, supplementary means 180. Okay. Real quick, when you think of 180, actually, let me back that up. When you think of supplementary, I want you to think of 180, supplementary, right? And then when you think of complementary, I want you to think of 90 degrees, okay? Supplementary makes 180, two angles that add up to 180. Complementary, two angles that add up to 90, okay? So if HGI is this angle right here, then I want to find another angle right next to it that makes 180 degrees or a straight line. So what's right next to it? DGH or HGD, however you want to say it. And look, DGH. Now, those two angles make a straight line. That's great. But look at this. Don't these two angles also make a straight line? So again, from HGI, what's right here next to it is IGE or EGI. Now this one happens to have two right answers. Okay, so that this angle is supplementary, these two, and also these two angles are supplementary right next to each other, as long as they make a straight line. Okay. Now HGE is a straight line. That's not an answer. Okay, they're asking what other angle with HGI makes 180 degrees. They're not asking you for one angle that makes 180. They're asking you for two angles that add up to 180. And IJK doesn't even make an angle. And I'm not even just kidding. All right, 26. Complementary means two angles add up to 90 degrees. So look, D, E, G. This little angle right here, is right next to this little angle right here, and together they make 90 degrees, right? So what is this little angle right here? GEI or IEG? GEI. All right. Again, those two angles make 90 degrees. They are complementary. Cool. All right, down here. So, and I'm going to pull this up on the whiteboard. Oops. So I'm going to do this over here and then answer it on the GoFormative, which, by the way, this is called Microsoft Whiteboard, and this might be a good program that you can get to just doodle on stuff. But on 27, these two angles, right? This angle and this angle. Together they make a straight line. Okay, that's called a linear pair. All right. Now, if I have a linear pair, that means that they're going to add up to a straight line, which is how many degrees? 180. Okay. These two angles are not necessarily equal. If they're a linear pair, they make a line, they add up to 180. So let's do that. 3x minus 10. Okay, so that angle plus the other angle, 2x, equals 180. So a linear pair, you add them up to 180. Let's combine like terms. 2x and 3x make 5x minus 10 equals 180. And now I got to solve this two-step equation. X is not by itself. I have a 5 coefficient and I have a minus 10 constant. Remember, I always get rid of that constant. I get rid of that loner first. 5 and x are buddies, but the loner minus 10 has to go first. And we always do opposites, and whatever we do on one side, we do to the other. So the opposite of minus 10, plus 10, plus 10. So now I have 5x equals 190. Now, how do you think I'm going to get rid of that 5? 5 and x are multiplied, so the opposite is to divide. Divide. Okay. Now, what is 190 divided by 5? This is where you can use your calculator. You can either go to desmos.com or you could use your phone calculator. Okay. 190 divided by 5 is 38. So x is 38. Okay. So they're a linear pair and x is 38. So for number 27, linear pair, x is 38. Cool. All right, let's do number 28. So what would you call this angled pair? So whenever you have angles across from each other like this, they're called vertical angles. Angles that are across from each other are vertical angles, and they're congruent. Okay, their measurements are equal. So let's set them equal to each other. 4x minus 10 equals 7x minus 5. Okay, now we're going to solve this. Now remember, when x is on both sides, okay, your first step is you want to get it onto one side. And I always like to get rid of the smaller x, okay? So kind of get rid of the weak. So the smaller x is 4x. So how do I get rid of a positive 4x term? I subtract it. Minus 4x minus 4x. I'm going to bring down negative 10 equals 7 minus 4 is 3x minus 5. Now once again, I have a, let me back that up. This is a positive, my bad. Okay, sorry about that. Let me erase that plus sign. Okay, but so far we've done the math right, everything's good. Now to get on the right side, I have 3x minus 5. Remember, what do I get rid of first? the constant, or what I call the loner. And I do the opposite of it, and I do it to both sides. So the loner is minus 5 on the side with x. The opposite of minus 5 is plus 5. And if I do it on one side, I do it on the other side. So I get 15 equals 3x. And just like on the last problem, to get rid of a coefficient, those numbers are multiplying. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. Now what is 15 divided by 3? 5. So these are vertical angles, and x is 5. So for number 28, vertical angles, x is 5. Cool? All right, let's work on number 29. Now we're talking about midpoint, okay? So let's talk about midpoint on number 29, if I can get there, cool. All right, so the midpoint formula given 2 points is x1 plus x2 divided by 2, and then y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So you're basically averaging your two x values by adding them up and dividing by 2, and then you're adding up your two y values and then dividing them by 2. So let's do that. Those are my two x values, 6 and 3. So 6 plus 3 divided by 2. What about my y values? 4 and negative 4. So 4 plus negative 4 divided by 2. All right. And then my final answer, 6 plus 3 is 9. 9 divided by 2 is 4.5. 4 plus negative 4 is 0. 0 divided by 2 is 0. And you can use a calculator to double check those, right? Or to get your final answer. So 4.5 comma 0 is number 29. There it is, right? Number 30 is asking us to do the same thing, so let's do that. I'm going to add up my x values. So, whoops. So negative 7 plus 3 divided by 2. And then 5 plus negative 9 divided by 2. All right, and so when I reduce it, negative 7 plus 3 is negative 4. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. 5 plus negative 9 is negative 4. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. All right, so for number 30, I got negative 2, negative 2. There it is. All right. Ms. Morrow, do you have any comments on midpoint formula?
Forget, you add the x's and divide by 2. And then you add the y's and divide by 2. And that's the middle of the point in between the midpoint in between two other points. Halvesies.
Now, 29 and 30, it said find the midpoint, right? Now, we're not trying to be too tricky, but on these next two, it's going to be a little different, okay? Now look at 31. It said M is the midpoint of AB, and the coordinates of A are negative 2, comma 3, and then the coordinates of M are 1, comma 0. So this time it gives you the midpoint. We are not looking for the midpoint, okay? We know the midpoint. We're actually looking to find the other endpoint. So if you're looking for the other endpoint, it's going to be a little different. Now, I can show you the way to do it algebraically using the formula, but I'm going to show you an easier way, okay? So let's draw a little picture. Here's my segment, my endpoint, and then right in the middle is my midpoint, right? And actually, let's just use the letters that they have for us. They said the segment is AB, right? So we got A, midpoint, B, right? All right, so the coordinates of A are -2, 3. It doesn't really matter which direction it's going. And then M is 1, 0. Now the question is, what is B? So here's my little trick, okay? I'm going to do these little bird beaks on the side. If you can find the difference between these X's and Y's, then you're just going to repeat the same difference to get to the other endpoint. Here's what I mean. How do I get from -2 up to 1? You can either count it in your head or you can subtract 1 minus -2, but that's adding 3. Whoops. So guess what I'm going to do for the next difference? I'm going to add 3. So what's 1 plus 3? 4. Let's do it on the y side. It starts at 3 and it goes down to 0. If you're going from 3 down to 0, that's -3. So guess what you're going to do again? -3. 0 minus 3 is -3. If you're looking for a missing endpoint and they give you the midpoint, this is one way to do it. You're basically just finding the differences and then repeating the differences, okay? The other way to do it involves more algebra, which can be confusing. So let's get 4, -3. All right. And we're going to do that same thing here on number 32, okay? Let's take a look at it. Okay, it says find the other endpoint when the first endpoint and the midpoint are given. So once again, I'm gonna draw a little picture. Now we don't have the point name, so I'm just gonna call it endpoint and endpoint. And then in the middle, I got my midpoint. All right, so the first endpoint is 2, -9. The midpoint is 6, -4. So what's the difference and what's the difference? From 2 up to 6 is a +4. So guess what I'm going to do? +4. 6 plus 4 is 10. -9 up to -4 is adding 5. So guess what I'm going to do? Add 5. So -4 plus 5 is 1. So 10, 1 for number 32. There you go. All right. 33, 34, and 35. These are going to be all about distance. How do I know that? Okay, I'm going to look for these key words. I'm going to highlight them, see if that works. Find the length. Find the distance. Measure of the length, okay? So I know all these three, I'm going to be using distance formula, okay? What I'm going to do, I'm going to paste the distance formula on here. Let's see how this works. Cool. Let's see if I can move that distance formula. Yeah. All right, it's off to the side now. But do you see what it is? You are, ooh, cool, there we go. The distance equals the square root x2 minus x1, so you subtract the x values, in parentheses, squared, plus y2 minus y1, which means you subtract the y values, in parentheses, squared. All right, so all I gotta do is plug in some numbers if I know the two endpoints, which I do know the endpoints, right? So let's do this. D equals big old square root. Now x2 minus x1 is going to be 5 minus -3. I'm actually writing 5 minus sign, negative sign, 3 squared plus parentheses y2 minus y1 is going to be 4 minus 4. 4, minus 4 squared. All right. Now, what we need to do is take that and we need to plug it into the calculator. Now, typically you'd have that yellow calculator, right? But let's talk about what we can use instead. So we're going to go to this website called desmos.com. Again, desmos.com, desmos.com. And when you get there, there's a lot of stuff here, but math tools, you want to click on scientific calculator, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to type in our equation that we were just doing. So over here is a little square root sign. So it's square root, parentheses, 5 minus negative 3, parentheses, squared is going to be right, can't I see it? Oh, right there, duh. Squared plus parentheses 4 minus 4 parentheses, and then the squared again is right here. So again, on desmos.com/scientific, you'll get your calculator, you hit enter, and I got 8. All right. Now, if you plotted those points, it would be really easy to count 8 units, but it's not always that easy. Okay. So on number 33, the answer is 8. Good. Now let's do the same thing for 34. It says find the distance. So once again, I'm gonna write it out using the distance formula. The distance, by the way, this was 8, right? Okay. Distance equals long square root x2 minus x1, 1 minus negative 4 squared plus y2 minus y1, negative 2 minus negative 5 squared. Okay, so all I got to do is, if I can type that in correctly into Desmos scientific calculator, then I'll be good. So let's go to the Desmos scientific calculator that I have, tab I have open, square root, parentheses, 1 minus negative 4 parentheses squared plus parentheses, this one's crazy, negative 2 minus negative 5 parentheses squared. Lots of stuff there, but I hit enter. It was already there, but it's 5.83. All right. Off the page there a little bit. And then my answer for number 34, 5.83. Closest one is there. That's it. Now, the last one for this review is kind of tricky, and here's why. It says GF has an endpoint and a what? Midpoint. Okay, I want you to think about this. They're giving you G to F, and there's your midpoint, right? So they're giving you this length, right? But they're saying, what is the measure of GF, which is this length? Here's what most people are going to do. They're going to use these 2 points. They're going to use the distance formula, and they're only going to get half of the distance. But what we need to do is get the whole distance of GF, okay? So I don't mind that you use the distance formula again, right? Negative 3 minus 4 squared plus 1 minus 2 squared. I don't mind if you get that distance, okay? But GF is going to be that distance times 2, because GM is half of GF. Okay, so well, let's get this distance. So let's take that over to Desmos and plug it in. So square root, parentheses, negative 3, no, negative 3 minus 4, parentheses squared, plus parentheses 1 minus 2 parentheses squared. All right, negative 3 minus 4 squared plus 1 minus 2 squared, all in parentheses, hit enter, and 7.07. That would round to 7.1. If I go to the GoFormative, wouldn't I want to put that right there? No, that is wrong. Okay, remember, I got 7.07, right? But I need to multiply it by 2. Okay, and what I get is about 14.1. That's my real answer. That's the real distance from G to F, not G to M. So my answer should be that second one. All right. Now, when you finish your GoFormative responding to 35 of 35, and hopefully you've shown your work on your own piece of paper or digitally on some whiteboard. This is called Microsoft Whiteboard that you can use. Hit submit, and it should give you your grade. Okay. And then you can exit the assignment, and it'll hopefully let me know how I did right now. Now, if it doesn't, then I'll have to look into that. Okay. All right. So that's how you do a GoFormative assessment or assignment. And those are the answers. And this is for your use to check your answers and to review for your test, which we're going to have on Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on when you have class. All right.